All right, so Shanae and I went back and read through the minutes, because you asked a question last meeting, Bill, about was the $20,000 cumulative or was it a one-time shot? We went back and looked, and the minutes are not definitive on the change orders. I'm going back to change orders. So if it's a once, is it $20,000 every occurrence? Or is it 20,000 cumulative? Because if it's cumulative, we reached it last month. So that's something that Shanae and I, we're going to remind each other to ask y'all to think through. Do you want to authorize us to approve up to $20,000 per occurrence? Or is it cumulative or in that period of time? Because when I talked to Ben and the contractor at our regular scheduled coordination meeting, this one could have waited a month, but it would have cost probably more to remobilize. So that was pretty much in essence what Ben said. So, and we were close enough to the board meeting where it didn't matter, so he was going to come in and talk to you all about it anyway.
So the way I remember it was a total of 20,000. If we extended past, and it wasn't per occurrence.
Okay.
It was a total of 20,000. And then if we needed to, we would reappropriate additional 20,000, which we have not at this point. And quite frankly, with the way this project has been going, I think we'd be smart to stay under that same scenario as opposed to being nickeled and dimed, up to that amount for whatever they want or don't want. Yeah, hell yeah, I want them to come in here and tell us why they want this or why they want that.
And that's in line with what we decided back in the spring, that the contingency would be self-funded and they would come before the board to fund any contingency monies.
Yep.
So that's fine. We've got, I think that's consensus of the board, Shanae, so I think I'm good on that. Yep, good on that. I will say this on behalf of the contractor real quick. He said in the meeting, and I feel like he wouldn't mind me repeating it, he's really trying to look at doing the project the best he can. He's not a change order monger.
Right.
That's his words, not mine. And, yeah, but when he sees something like the greenhouse and the foundation, he's just not going to, he's a good contractor. He's not going to build on top of a bad foundation like that. So just wanted to make sure I mentioned that.
We still need to hold his feet to the fire.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. And check his prices. And he's checking prices between subs too, and he goes over that in the meetings with us as well. But, and I'll tell you, Sheriff Bushy's down there just about every day. He's really staying on top of that. So, yeah. He's taking a lot of ownership of his project.
Okay, is there any unfinished business that we need to talk about other than what we'll be talking about when we go back in closed session? Any unfinished business that anybody wants to bring up? Any new business? Okay, habit matters presented by the board. Start with you, Mr. Jesse.
Did attend the Orchard Festival this weekend, and that was very well attended. Weather was perfect, and a lot of nonprofit made some money. That's a good thing on that. Also, most of us went down to see that magic box that was down in Gloucester,
Right.
which I think is going. I think that can be. It's a prototype right now, but I think
Yeah.
citizens will be able to use that down the road in certain areas that with the land that won't perk or different things like that. What else? Well, PDC, we went to that. Louis covered a lot of things that we talked about in PDC. And that's it for my committee report.
Mr. Crittenden?
No, the only thing I had was we did have an EMS task force committee meeting that had to be canceled. They were waxing the floors at the rescue squad, so we couldn't meet there. And I have some surgery coming up, so I've been waiting to get a date on that for sure before I set another one. But hopefully we'll be able to get to that very soon.
Okay, and briefly, yes, I think the Magic Box it's nice that we really have a little breathing room right now. We went and looked at Lancaster's sewer system. We looked at the Magic Box. So all of that just hopefully will make us much more intelligent when we make the decision that's going to come forward at a later date. I was at the playground, which several of you guys were at the playground equipment at the elementary school dedication. That all looked nice. Been meeting with the renovation committee, Middlesex, Wayne and I, with that group. And really, we're not, we had a pretty robust discussion earlier, but we're not committed to one thing or the other at this point. We're gathering information, so your opinions of what that is important as well, of how we go forward with that. I also had the pleasure of going to the meeting in Deltaville for the solar project. That was pretty interesting, and I'll just leave it at that. And then all of us had the sewer work session that we all attended to as well. Mr. Harris?
I think a couple of things I was involved with, y'all covered it, I'm good.
Okay.
Don and Wayne covered most of everything I went through too, but one thing it was said that, we was at the meeting, and I think a lot of times we make simple complicated, and Louis said, he mentioned in the meeting that they were sitting around and like, I guess mice eating cheese, couldn't make their mind up that they need to be co-signers on the loan to break it down to a level that people can understand and keep things simple. Because there's one thing about numbers and gotta make a decision. And I told a gentleman one time, I said, you only looking at half a circle when it's a whole circle to be looked at. And I encourage all of us to look at a whole circle, regardless of which way. I always been the way that it's not my idea. And if you know me, it's not my idea. But my idea is for the whole picture. And at the end of the day, it's not who is right and wrong. But I do believe that somebody's right and somebody's wrong most of the time.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. We now will move into the public hearing portion of our program. Mr. Kretz? You look pretty fresh over there. I don't see you yawning and all
that's
that.
just, I yawn some, everybody yawns once in a while, I guess.
Go ahead, sir.
I finally get my moment in
There you
on
go.
the stage here, so. Anyway, before, what we have up for consideration for the board, I didn't do a PowerPoint, it's in the, yeah, it disappeared. Well, yeah, the packet's okay. Yeah. So, no, that's okay. We'll give you a second. Yeah, there's so many icons down there. So what you have before you tonight for consideration is the revised, updated erosion and sediment control ordinance. This is an ordinance that it's essentially the board's ordinance. It's all the ordinances are the board's ordinance, but this is not part of the zoning ordinance. It's separate, so Planning Commission really didn't weigh in on this. It's drafted in response to some of the new code sections that have come up related to stormwater management and how the different localities, whether they're opt-in or opt-out for stormwater management. So it addresses those changes that DEQ has done the past, actually, it's going on 10 years now. It's taken almost this long for DEQ to catch up with it, to get everything codified correctly. So there's been some formatting and just grammatical changes. Susan Trainer, she works with MuniCode, so she, put the thing together. But the only thing that was, Shanae, if you could go to section, I think it's 7.1. Okay. This is the only change that really was substantial that in wording that the board, I just want to be transparent and make sure that nobody says we. 1.7, I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah, that's a long ordinance. So if you look at item C there, 17C, at the end, it says, or an agreement in lieu of a plan signed by the property owner. That was left out of the draft that the board saw last month. It's fairly significant, really. When Heather brought it up to my attention, she said, something doesn't look right. I said, well, DEQ wrote it. Nothing looks right in it, so it's a nonsense that the whole thing is kind of hard to follow. So I kind of discounted what she said, and then Mark corrected me, says, no, Dave. Yeah, I did. I kind of giggled at her because, I said, she doesn't know anything about erosion sediment control. So anyway, and then I was quickly corrected by Mark Longus, says, no, Dave, you left out an important part.
What are
And
you saying then, that you don't have to say, like, if my neighbor doesn't want it, I don't have to put up silt fence?
No, it's just saying you either have to have a ENS control plan, or you have to have an agreement in lieu of a plan, which, when you have an agreement in lieu of a plan, that's used almost all the time for residential construction. So it just means you have to do everything, you agree to put up silt fence and do everything that a plan usually has on it. You just don't have to get an actual plan submitted. It's just understood that you're going to put up, and Mark Longus enforces that. If a builder signs an agreement in lieu of a plan, we use it for residential, and he doesn't put his silt fence up, we cite him. We tell him you have to put your silt fence up.
You see houses going up right regularly without silt fences, though.
Pardon me?
You see houses and stuff being built regularly without silt fences around the property, is that?
Well, they're supposed to have it up. I
Oh,
mean,
okay.
Yeah, I mean, we catch up with them and make them put it up. It's just, a lot of times it's, not as regularly enforced maybe as Tractor Supply. We would really be watching out a lot more for a project like that. So anyway, that was fairly significant, and Mark brought it up, and so did Heather, and I discounted them at first. But I just want to be transparent. That's the only change in this plan, that versus the original plan that you guys looked at last month. So
And that's code language, Dave.
Yeah.
That's
It's
not
straight from
That's
state
not
code.
language that was the thing. We did double check to confirm that this is what the code requires us to say.
Yeah, it's
So it is not language, I wanted to change the wording, and I couldn't. This is how the code has it worded.
Yeah.
So regardless of how I feel about the grammatical sentence here, but anyway.
it's straight from state
And if I
code.
may, not to add time to it, but I'll chime in. When we've had people build homes on like a 10-acre site, and there's no way sediment is leaving their site, agreement in lieu of all day long, and they may not have any silt fence up because they don't need it. It's not going anywhere, staying on their land. The main thing erosion and sediment control wants to do is make sure that that sediment does not trespass onto another property or go downstream and end up in the waters of the Commonwealth.
And if there's a downhill slope, we usually make them put it up. Yeah. It basically says, when you get a building permit, that agreement in lieu of is actually embedded in that permit application. You have to pay a separate fee for that, and we issue that with the permit. So you are obligated, it's a legal obligation that contractor or builder adhere to that agreement in lieu of language. Does that help? Okay. And that's pretty much it.
So what action are we taking on this?
This would be this is a public hearing. I'll step aside and allow you to open up the public hearing, then you can take your action.
Okay. I'm opening the floor to any public comment. In lieu of seeing no public, I will close the public comment part of this. And do we need to make a motion on this? And is the motion an ordinance repealing the erosion and sediment control ordinance?
So, yes, Mr. Chairman, the way I would phrase that is, we did a repeal and replace to try and make it easier for everyone to know what we were doing. So the motion would be to adopt the ordinance repealing the erosion and sediment control ordinance adopted September 16th, 2008, and adopt So you want to repeal that one, and you want to adopt the new erosion and sediment control ordinance as presented in your packet, based on the new code language.
So move.
Second.
So moved on the motion by Mr. Jesse, seconded by Bill Harris. Is there any other comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Jesse,
Yes.
Mr. Williams, Mr. Bill Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Crittenden,
Yes.
Mr. Don Harris.
Yes, motion's approved. Okay, I guess we need a motion now for re-entering closed session.
I would recommend, Mr. Chairman, if I may, that you open up for the general public comment period, and then we could go into closed session.
Okay. I'll open the floor for public comment. Seeing none, hearing none, I will close the public comment session. And now that'd be a motion would be appropriate for a motion to enter into closed session.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we need a motion to convene in closed session pursuant to Virginia Code Sections 2.2-3711A3 and subsection A8.
Thanks, Dave.
This is for the discussion of the acquisition of real property for a public purpose where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect your bargaining position, and for consultation with legal counsel about said process of acquisition and specific legal questions regarding the the property subject to the acquisition.
So moved.
So moved by Bill Harris,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Crittenden. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Bill Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Crittenden,
Yes.
Mr. Jesse,